Welcome to CASEA Dialogue, the video podcast brought to you from CASEA BC that aims to bring businesses across 16 countries of Central Asia and Southeast Asia region. A safe space where we invite industry heads, market leaders, and entrepreneurs to come on the show as CASEA Loggers to share insights, industry tips with all our CASEA friends watching or listening in. And also with the intention to inspire, open up new conversations to ignite possibilities to dream again. And if you're a CASEA member, you will have access to the VIP lounge where you will receive mindset tricks that have helped them succeed in these trying times. But most importantly, offer suggestions on how you can scale and transfer across the 16 countries with sensitivity and finesse. Location, courtesy of Ikigai at the River Walk. Hello CASEA friends and members. This is Chrissy Chu bringing to you the latest edition of CASEA Dialogue. So today, I'm happy to introduce to you Loon Seong Yin. He is short form Loon, because that's what we like to call him. He is actually the serial entrepreneur that brought us all together into CASEA BC. So I would really like to talk a little bit about that later on, but right now, let me just tell you a little bit about his portfolio. Being a serial entrepreneur like yourself, he's actually been in interior design. He's been deep in technologies, as well as he started a movement called ARC, ASEAN Regional Connect. So ASEAN Regional Connect. And with this, he's managed to create a safe space for businesses in the region to be able to come together to look for business opportunities and collaborations. But before we get too deep into that, I'd like to find out a little bit about the real Loon. I mean, I've tried. We can't find anything on him on Google as it is. So tell us about the real Loon. Hi.
Hi.
So hi Loon, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, depends on what you really want to know.
Well, I don't know. Tell us a little bit about your personal life. We want to find out who the real Loon is.
For me, it depends on how young you want to go and where we are now. If we go from a young age, I was more interested in things that were nature-driven, things that had to do with things that were natural, handicrafts and stuff that we actually could see the actual detail of how things were built. But that was at a young age, and then you went on where life went on, and we had to get geared into where our parents wanted us to study in specific fields, move us into specific fields. So at a later part of my life, IT was a little bit of a hobby, and it became something that I actually went on to study.
It's funny that you should say that about IT, because growing up, that became the thing to focus on. Truth be told, my parents were also trying to push me into that area, but when they saw that I was not so fluid in the IT language, they allowed me to do my own thing and go off into the arts. But could you tell us a little bit about your family? Was it your parents that pushed you into IT?
In fact, they didn't really put anything in front where they wanted me to kind of follow a specific industry. It just was interest at a very young age, because I like to take things apart. I like to find out how things work, and it boiled to that, and they thought, okay, go ahead and do that. And that started me on IT. So when I was young, I had nothing to do during school holidays, so I'd go to a friend's shop and actually work and build computers and do other stuff because it was interesting. So then I learned how to build them, how they work, tinkered around during the times when we had dial-up internet, we had no Windows, and everything was basically command line based. So it was fun at a young age, and it was just something you just followed through. It wasn't maybe something I was interested in, because art scene and the creative part of life was something that parents thought don't make money. But at the later part of my life, I got into interior design. Someone brought me in, but that sparked back your creativity and what you actually like when you were young. And then I actually enjoyed it more than IT. And secondly, IT also has its issues where it's never the hardware or the software, but the user that's the problem.
Yes, I can attest to that. Guilty. That's really amazing. I mean, your interest went on into, grooming the areas that you would actually build your business there from. Could you tell us a bit about that, what led you into this journey for, your professional life?
Well, nothing really led me there. It was just about interest and things you like to do. So some stuff make you money and some don't. Some lose you money and some call you crazy. But end of the day, it was what I liked. So it wasn't a matter of what people said. It was what were you interested to do and what you like to do. I mean, I didn't succeed in everything. There were a lot of failures, but these failures bring you to the next step. I worked, I think, a good more than 10 years of my life. So the corporate industry taught you a lot of governance, taught you how to do structure points, how to deal with workflows, and that helps you out. When I first started my business, I had no mentor, I had no one to help out. You just jumped in. Even if you lose money, okay, that's that. And you start over again, and you learn from those mistakes. When I jumped into business in 2006, we made money, but then the Lehman Brothers incident happened, and no one basically knows what's going to happen. And you could have made money, but a lot of money was put out into advertising and into marketing. And during the early 2000s, marketing costs weren't the same as they are today. Just to do decent traditional marketing from magazines to media and branding efforts, right? Those costs can come up to almost $500,000 a year. And when you put those contracts aside and you've already signed them, you can't get out of them. So that's basically what brought the business down, because you've already committed yourself into quite a lot of marketing efforts. But as you move along, when the Lehman Brothers case happened, basically I had to sell one of my properties to actually move on, and that still kept me afloat. I was lucky enough to have properties and be able to actually afford to buy properties at an earlier stage. So that was kind of a buffer, and that still kept you alive. But when we went on in the next round, I had a smaller crew, and we started a business with a new brand. I think we had about 6 people compared to, I think, 40 staff from the beginning. But we went to the niche market. We started to look at a market that was more interesting compared to moving in a mass market where we were counting numbers. So we were relying on salespeople and numbers because you're working at mass market. But when we moved into a niche market, you had to think, you had to remarket yourself, you had to find out what was trending, what was in the market. And as you move along, every market trend change, you have to keep thinking what's new. How are you going to reinvent yourself? What's interesting in the market? So interior design is interesting because every 2 years something changes. New products arrive. It's the same as like you buying your iPhone 10, 11, 12, and 13. So you have to keep people interested. And design is personal. So a person could like rustic, or somebody else could like contemporary, or somebody could like a design that is industrial. So it doesn't matter what trend it is, but it's understanding the trend and the designs and styles at the moment, and also what appeals to people. So interior design taught me 2 very big things, which is understanding the clients, the needs, their wants, what they really like. And it's basically coming out of creativity. So it comes from the person, like what do they really like in terms of visuals and feel, which is different from a B2B kind of business where it's always about transactions. It was a business where you dealt with consumers and commercial entities, but every job required you to properly understand the client, whether it was a consumer or a business. Like if you wanted to set up a bar, you need to know what field they want. You need to know how their business works. You need to understand how their workflows work, how their staff are going to work. So interior design doesn't teach you just the design. It teaches you to understand the whole business workflow before you can actually design. So like a shopping mall needs to understand how escalators work, which direction you're going to move, what's the movement flow of a mall. So interior design actually is more complex than people think. It's not just art. It's about logic. And if you design a shopping mall in the wrong way, then everyone is not going to visit every shop. And then the mall doesn't have enough traffic. So that's on a mall scene. Pubs, bars, offices, how the people work, how many people they have in their departments, how big the meeting room sizes are, already makes you have to question how the business works. How do they work on an everyday basis? And because you have to work with clients and consumers, you have to understand a lot of things. And from there, your experience from the years come by, and if you work for logistics, if you do interior design for a logistics company, you understand their workflow. And when you start doing designs for another company from a different industry, from a marketing industry to an arts industry to any other industry, you have to understand that business as well. So that is where I start to understand a lot of businesses and how they work, because if not, we can't design. So that was the kind of details we had to work with. And next comes to project management, where we have to deal with suppliers, we have to deal with people, we have to deal with staffing and remote workers. So now, although in COVID we have to deal with it digitally, the construction and interior design industry makes you have to work with multiple different people and multiple projects at different times. So then it teaches you how to sort things out, compartmentalize them, and figure out how you're going to plan your day. So it's like, for me, waking up in the morning, right, is looking at how many projects I have on the day, what kind of resources I have, and what we're going to plan. So first thing in the morning is coffee, sitting down and working out the workflow for the morning, and then going to work. So you plan the day based on the scenario, and it's not a plan that we build that say, okay, I've got a project for 6 months and I'm going to do it, and I've got this on a piece of paper. Every morning things change. Tomorrow your worker falls sick, or subcon cars break down, or something else happens. So every morning a phone call can change the plan.
That's so true. I mean, from what I'm hearing from you, it really is a volatile start, right? In this area that we're trying to move into. Creating your own business is definitely not an easy thing, but at least you have this passion that's driving it from within, from the beginning. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about interior design and logistics that are skills that have created this seamless workflow, and the experiences that you went through the Lehman Brothers incident. I mean, that's taught you to be fluid and kept you on your toes. I mean, this has helped you to be able to help us and teach us all the different ways that we can actually pivot and keep ourselves really up to date with how we can, in a very simple way, add better value to our audience. So, thank you for sharing that with us. That's really insightful. Yeah, but bringing this back to CASEA BC, we understand that you are covering, the areas of relations, because, as you have said earlier on so beautifully, it's about figuring out what your audience needs and being able to fulfill that, and looking at what resources we need to actually give back and help them to grow in the first place, for them to be profitable or save money. How have your experiences, looked at creating the space that you have created in CASEA BC? Hold on. I do also understand that this is an extension of the ARC.
Yes, well, I met Rudy, who is the CEO of CASEA BC. And recently, I think about 6 or 7 months back, we had a talk and said, let's combine, because I was getting tired running the movement on my own. He had connections in different industries that I don't. And no man's an island. We have to work together to basically understand what is necessary So for me, it's about understanding the linkages, the leveraging points, and who can do what best, right? I'm not the best at everything, but we can find the best to do those roles. So with Rudy together and me bringing everyone else together, because each one of you has a role, and each one of you has something that you are you have a strong suit in. So now that we've come together, we're able to actually create stuff like from media on your side. We've got Rudy that's on the banking and the finance sector. We've got Eldrin that does social and social impact. I deal with all the relationships, and I help to still make sure that the chamber is holding on to the relationships from embassies to universities and schools and stuff, as well as our own business partners. So each working partner, other than the management team, has to come together for a purpose. Before coming to CASEA BC, the 2 years in ARC wasn't a money-making scheme. It was a movement. It cost a lot of time and money, but it was more for finding the right like-minded people who's really socially driven and who's actually looking to actually do their best and actually change something that's out in the world. Everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to do business. So the first person you meet when you put something out, it's always about what's in it for me. But if you can find somebody that doesn't tell you what's in it for me, then you've struggled. And they're not easy to find. So you go through and sift through hundreds of people, and you may just meet one. So the last 2 years has been a journey where you're continuously talking to people, finding out things, and actually meeting the right person. So it's basically me talking, not doing anything, and finding this person. Okay, I like this guy, I'm gonna put him one side. I like this other guy, I'm gonna put him one side. But
Matchmaking.
I haven't got anything for him yet. So let's see.
But I mean, your efforts in the last 2 years with this movement driving ARC, that's basically the reason why we were able to hit the ground running with CASEA BC. So, you know, this is actually the seeds that you were planting, and now is the time that we can actually bring our resources together to actually sow these seeds.
Well, the whole approach of ARC in the first place, at its very beginning, was to create a space for social impact. It was not so much just to do business, and I never looked at it that way. So I wouldn't know when it would take off, nor did I bother when it would take off. But it came to a point where more and more people come together on a personal level, and we start to make more friends, where we relate to them, and it's not the facade that you see, because you get personable, and business owners become your friends. They're not just another business partner, and that took time to build. And now when you come together, right, people are there because they want to be there, and they're not here because I can get something out of you.
Brings us back to the Kwansi model that we know and love so well in Asia. Yeah. Circling it back around to CASEA BC now, I also understand that you are the head, the business director for our local chapter, for bringing our members together to start businesses in Singapore, because that's our model, right? We're creating case studies of businesses that can collaborate and move them into the 16 countries. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, local chapter was what ARC was supposed to be in the first place. I understood where CASEA BC was able to link to 16 countries with Rudy's leadership. So for me, it was allowing him to actually build the 16 countries, whilst I said I will put in more effort on the local side, because when I was traveling the last 2 years and actually building relationships, it was more about what else can we do as Singaporeans, how else can we diversify our business and actually grow globally. It's not just about what we do locally, but is there a way for us to actually expand our businesses overseas? And that's why we traveled out. I traveled to Vietnam, I've traveled to Thailand, I've traveled to Vietnam, Indonesia, and all the and a few ASEAN countries. So basically, what else can we do? Right? Emerging markets either can afford or can't afford it. So when you go there, you were thinking that we want to find someone to invest and start business, right? But when you get there, it's more they're looking for you to invest in them.
It's true. You can start something, but who's going to invest the money for the business to actually operate, right?
Yes. And the thought was, let's go overseas and see if a business partner wants to work together, but it actually works the other way around. So then when it works the other way around and there's no cash flow involved and there's no cash involved, how are we going to do business? And how are we going to be able to create that business point and still get something running off the ground? So the last 2 years as well, as other than bringing people together, is thinking of all sorts of different ideas that can create the capital gain in order to start these businesses. It could be a micro investment model, it could be something where people can invest in it, more so than actually the old way where it's save money, create capital, and then start business. So it's like, if you have no money today, how are you going to start a business? And who are you going to collaborate with? And with COVID at the moment, if you have no cash flow, you can't advertise, you can't market, how are you going to do business? And what's the next method to do business? How do we leverage on businesses and leverage on partnerships to create free advertising, free marketing? Which in CASEA BC, we have now, I think, talked to several partners where we can work with either bistros and current offices that we have actually are now negotiating agreements where an office space can be a co-working space, because you cannot have your staff be in the office all the time. You still have to pay rental, but you can now maybe once a week rent out your meeting room to me. You can rent out 2 hot desks to me. And at the same time, because you're getting members that are from different businesses, they are going to your office and they're starting to understand what your business is about. And that to you is free awareness and free advertising. Because it's not just about looking at your brand, it's having to use your office, having to make friends with you, having to shake hands with you. And then it becomes a personal friendship where I might want to give you business because I'm using your office anyway.
Exactly. I mean, just like the space where we are currently holding our HQ at the Common Ground, it's a really great place where so many other startups and SMEs actually hang out and co-mingle. Natural friendships will occur. This is all really interesting because you're talking about how businesses can start and grow in a very progressive new way. But I'm also thinking about, all the startups that are trying to find the right footing, and even brick and mortar companies that are converting into the digital space. Like, can you, as the chief tech officer, can you tell us a little bit more about how CASEA BC can actually help these businesses, start this digital platforms on the right foot?
Okay, let's start with what CASEA BC is going to be building on their own. It's, in the first place, when you work with our 16 countries, right, we have countries that have all sorts of different communications. So in my phone alone, I have 7 or 8 different messengers, because each country has their own style and they have their own messenger. So when you deal with business collaborations and stuff, I have to sort out all the different chats and figure out what's going on. So then came to, how can we collaborate, get all our information in one place where everyone gets to be able to see and gets to be able to find out. We were either on Facebook, or we were on LinkedIn, or we were on some other public platform. But because there's no vetting on a public platform, and there's no curation on a platform, right? I can find 5 Christinas with the same face and the same name. I can find someone else, right? It could be a Mark or a John or anybody that's got the same face or name. It could be used. You can have mistaken identities. And I don't really know who I'm working with. So in CASEA BC, most of the people that are in are already people in our peer-to-peer network, the people that we know, and they're already people that we trust and actually do business with. So as we grow, you wouldn't want to recommend someone you don't know. You would only recommend someone you know. And because it's a closed network and it's not a public network, it allows us to create more projects and things that will grow together. So if people are interested, they refer. I'm not selling you anything because you're coming in because something interests you. But yet at the same time, because we build a platform similarly to how Facebook and LinkedIn work, where you can have your timelines, you can have all the information in one place, This allows people to find what they want within the network easily. So like if I want to do, I need help in farming, I need help in technology, or I want to do a technology project, or I want to do a specific project, I need creative help from media. All the people are inside, and I can find the information, I can find the people that I trust that I want to work with. So I can put out a project, and I know that someone's going to actually call out and say, okay, I'm interested in your project, how else can we work on it? So this was a start, and this is mainly on CASEA BC. But at the same time, working on this was the same as in the construction and the interior design industry. We have no project budgeting software. We have no real project timeline or Gantt chart software other than using Microsoft Projects or something else. So teaching people to use all this is the hassle. Everything becomes done in Excel or written in pen. And I've tried several softwares in the last 10 over years and nothing really works. But today we have open source softwares in the market. Can be WordPress, can be Python, can be anything that's already built in PHP. But these are all open source. So you have the source code, you have the understanding of how the software works, and all you need in a full stack is to understand how each of these plugins actually fits into your company. There could be 10 different booking plugins online compared to one booking software, but you can pick the one that suits you the best and then start picking the ones that work out and then actually building something that suits your current company. And that's why I said understanding the business and its workflow then allows you to build something that works. And with current technologies, they have open APIs. So having APIs allows us to actually connect to what's already existing in the business and not having them to relearn something new. So if the staff are already used to something, making them relearn something is again a time waster, and it takes time. And then you get a period of rubbish in, rubbish out. So that period again is loss of productivity for a business. But if you work on something that's already there and build on top of it, they don't lose their workflow and they also don't lose productivity because it keeps going on. So that's where the tech came in, and we thought about building a crew of remote developers and people that understand all the different sources out there, and we create a framework for the business, and these people get jobs to actually build for a business.
I think you touched on two very important things here. The first being, that every different country, and we are talking about 16 countries here, they all have their preferences. Just yesterday, one of our members asked me to download Telegram, and I was like, one more app on my phone. That means I got to get rid of a couple of home videos and pictures of my kids, right? And but I digress. But having said that, this is also one of the things that we can actually use as our strength, because with this one platform as an aggregator amongst all these countries, it makes everything just seamless. We don't have to move on into another area or another messenger just to connect Vietnam with Cambodia, or Uzbekistan with Philippines, for example. And this all of a sudden makes it, that seamless language or space that they can just share resources and lean on ours to be able to build upon their own businesses that they already have. And the second one that you actually brought up was about how our resources, or you as the tech officer, and how we are also looking for more, if I'm not wrong, more tech people to come on board to help us to create a more bespoke understanding of applications and platforms that would be synonymous to the way that people already work, but also to be able to help them expand and be able to link up with all the other businesses that they want to link up to, yet keeping it safe. So that gives us a really broad understanding, but a very clear picture of what CASEA BC can do for us. But that's a great explanation on the how-to. can you bring us more into the mission and how we can actually really build businesses that will help us make money? I mean, being able to see an ultimate goal of scaling into 16 countries for good, that's really awesome. It's a grand picture, but let's come back down a little bit and talk about like how we can actually help each other and add value.
Okay, with business it's always hard because it's always a buyer and a seller. You've got a product, you need to buy it. You need to find a buyer. You're a buyer, you need to find a product to sell. So, end of the day is with today, without cross-border and not being able to fly, we can't actually find things to do. So then, the catch-21 is why CASEA BC is actually building projects and actually collaborations is so that people can come together to put their things out. So if I've got a product to sell and I put it out, then we also have members that could be buyers. Or you could have buyers that are looking for specific things that someone in the chamber or someone in CASEA BC could have. And so it's all about information and about information that we've already gone through. So it's not like somebody posting stuff online. It's something we've gone through and said, okay, we like your product, we're going to post it out and you can gain awareness from this. But it's not every product that gets put out because we don't want every single product on the market. We want to know who we're working with and we want to make sure that the products have a value or a USP or USP to sell.
I guess what I'm asking is for our CASEA friends and members watching in, we would really like to find out what can CASEA BC do for me? You know, we really want to find a way to grow during this, you know, pandemic period and try to find a different way to pivot. Can you help me out with this?
This is a difficult question because there are businesses that can pivot like straight away and there are businesses that need time for us to figure out what the business is about and whether there is a new unique selling point that can be built. I'm not the expert, there could be other experts in the group, but that in itself is the basics that we need. For example, an events company that was doing outdoor events, how are they going to survive today? There's no business, you can't do large group events. I mean, the government is, in Singapore, the government is changing and we are allowing slightly larger groups again, but then these businesses have been affected for about a year. And there are other businesses that could be retail businesses that have similar products around malls, they have all of these things, and it's an online world now. There's no requirement for retail, and money spent, shop rentals still need to be paid, but these are businesses that we can't change overnight. But how can we diversify their business onto an online market to recover the costs that you've already put out? So I still have to pay rental. I can't change that, but I still have to sell my products. And so the government came out with, I think, e-commerce solutions and stuff. But what's made it worse is in the past, people went to do retail shopping and there were maybe 10 brands. For example, there were only 10 brands on e-commerce. But because now they can't go retail shopping, there's 1,000 brands selling the same thing on e-commerce. There's probably 100 chicken rice stores now, or another 100 biryani stores on app. So the thing is, competition has become many, many times harder than it was retail. Then now it's what's making you unique. So it's about personifying your brand, about making yourself unique, making someone say, I want to support you. No longer about what products I sell, but about what am I doing that makes me interesting or makes my company interesting that somebody wants to buy from you. So it's not just about your unique product as a sales point, but about what's unique about you. And also, what are you doing in the world that makes it interesting for somebody to follow? So it could be a sustainability project where we're talking about eco, it could be something else that's talking about social responsibility, or it could be a campaign drive that could be a community food drive. So it's not just about business anymore, it's about what brings you out. And we're not talking about awareness to gain business out of doing either charity or social work, but it's if you know how to build it within your business, you are doing it for a right purpose and you're doing it with the right purpose. And that way, you are actually gaining the business, but at the same time, you are driving the right purpose to actually gain that business. So to me, in terms of pivot, it's not just about unique, it's about what you want to do and what's the purpose of the business coming in on COVID.
No, I love the way that you actually drove that point home, that, it's not about us, but it's about you and what you want to build your business for, the purpose, the brand, and ultimately how we can add value to our community. So this doesn't then become just a business trying to grow, but it's pivoting for impact for good. And that's by and large what CASEA BC is trying to promote as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm a little more cautious on time at this point in time, but I do want to keep you on just a little bit longer. So knowing that you're from the area of relationship management, knowing that you're from the area of technologies and with an understanding in creative design, understanding how to bring things together in a very, progressive, and design solution, human solutions kind of direction. Is there anything that you can say, like maybe some tips or advice that we can feed to our CASEA friends and members, that they can create change, transformative, influence, that they can take action right away?
In terms of relationships, it's more based on collaboration today. So no one single business can actually excel, because there are a lot of mini SMEs and there are a lot of SMEs in the market. But creating something that has a specific goal allows several businesses to come together to actually work on something that actually makes the money. So it could be a sustainable project that 6 different companies have a skill set in. This allows them to make money, allows investors to invest in the project, and these businesses allowing them to be either the manufacturers or the logistic partners or any other partner in it, and to actually create business. So it's about one project having multiple angles for people to actually make money. So that's more relationships, where it's no longer just about a single business trying to compete in the market, but what does that business have that can contribute to the market? Then, because that project exists, it allows for multiple businesses to contribute together to create a project, but actually also to profit. With collaboration again, then we get into technology, where businesses need to start to understand their staff. People work from home today. Do you know what your staff do at home? In the first place, do you even know what they do at work? Right? You have an 8-hour shift, they probably work 2 hours, and Facebook 6 hours. I'm not saying everyone does that, but yeah, how do you know who's really working, who's not working, right? And is the job fun? So in today's world where COVID, people have choice. It's no longer about a business, and I think the voice of the people is actually a lot stronger. People have choices now where they want to work. And people are starting to skill up for different skills, because they are now interested in new things, because they have no other choice. So because they're starting to gain interest in things, they start to select jobs that they like to do, no longer just jobs because I have to do it. And that creates better productivity, because they actually enjoy doing what they like to do, instead of, shit, I need to go back to work for 8 hours because I need to earn this money to go home.
It's about personal responsibility as well, right? So you're stuck at home, but you know you got to get something done to be able to be productive, and then after that you can manage your time on your own.
So this again boils back down to team management, understanding the profiles of who you want working for you and how to build your teams. So like, what are they cognitively skilled at? What are their strong suits? So in the past, people go to work. An accountant could be doing an admin's job, and an admin could be doing a salesperson's job. But why? Because the job pays me money to feed my family. But now, no job pays me to feed my family, so I might as well find a job that I like doing, right? So then I want to skill up. In the past, I maybe liked something digital, but I couldn't afford the time because I didn't see that I had any time. But now I have to stay at home. I have time to study. We are lucky in Singapore because we do have SkillsFuture as an option, and people are able to skill up and actually move into other avenues. But that doesn't exist in every other country. So that again brings us back down to CASEA BC creating an academy or creating something where the business partners actually provide, and emerging markets also have different options than what we have in Singapore and what we have here that we can bring out. But doing this allows, again, between technology and relationships, it's about how we can actually build up technology to create the remote working spaces where all these people that have skills, be it from another country or from a local space, are able to actually work on projects and work with companies where it actually cuts down their staff strength, and we actually can then profile somebody that does the right job for you.
That's so true. That's exactly right. I mean, it makes everything just so seamless. Now I can see why they nominated you to be the relationship officer, right? You have this unique way of just, putting the whole jigsaw puzzle together so that it just works. And, I think that that's where we are in the industry today. We have to find a creative way, to build from our strengths and not just, do the job to get the paycheck in that sense. Loon, thank you for sharing that with us. I think that's something that we really needed to hear. So many times we know what we should do, but we oftentimes don't because we're afraid of what lies ahead. What you don't know might be the new way of doing business, but it's just really scary to pivot, especially in this, landscape. So if this resonates with you, please get in touch with us. Get in touch with Loon, our relationships officer. I'll put the link below. And for goodness sakes, no, for goodness sakes, cut it from here. I'll put the link below so that you can get in touch with both CASEA BC as well as Loon, our relationships officer. And do like, comment, and share our podcasts if you can. Tell us what you think and tell us what you want to find out more about. And please subscribe. We need your support so that we can share what we know and help more people along the way. Thank you. And thank you, Loon, for joining us today.
Thank you.